Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are so happy that you're joining us today. Thank you so very much for taking the time to be with us today and to meet our sensational guest. I really mean this guest is sensational. Her name is Shanon Morris, and she is the author of emcee, Veggie Fresh Rocks the Mic. It is a really, really fun book, but this conversation we have, it gets into nutrition, about access to food, about so many things. You are going to love it. Hey, we've been telling you that the Reading with Your Kids podcast was nominated for the iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award, and we're really excited and we're really humbled by that. And I mean, the other podcasts in our category are phenomenal, and we're really excited, and we're really grateful to all the people who've helped support us, our guests, you, the listeners, my producer Fatima, my beautiful wife. You know, there's a few days left in the voting. The awards are going to be announced. The winners of the awards are going to be announced on the 18th of January. And we're going to be out there. My beautiful wife and I are going to be out there in Los Angeles, just honored to be nominated and to be invited to the ceremony. But if you would like to give the Reading with Your Kids podcast a vote or 5, there's still a few days left in the voting. Please go to the iHeartRadio Podcast Awards website, and we are listed in the Kids and Family category. It's really easy to vote. It's absolutely free, and we'd be so very, very grateful for your support. Coming to us right now, I'm so excited. We're gonna rock the house here. Our guest is coming to us from Harlem in beautiful New York City. She is the author of a great new book called emcee, Veggie Fresh Rocks the Mic. Please welcome to the show, Shanon Morris. Shanon, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful. I really love the fact that we're in the same kind of weather zone right here. All day long, I've been interviewing people in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, and they're like, "Oh, it's 80 degrees here," and I'm like, "No, it's not 80 degrees here." So we're in
not 80 degrees here either. Let me tell you, it's cold.
So we could really use emcee Veggie Fresh here to rock us and get us moving and get us excited. Tell us about this is your debut book. Tell us all about it, please.
Sure. So emcee, Veggie Fresh Rocks the Mic is a book about a girl named Clementine in Harlem. She's struggling to figure out what to do for her Healthy Hero election speech. And she's trying to make sure that she wins the election, so to speak. That's what you'd want to do, right? And she's being made fun of by the junk food kids, Edgar and his junk food friends, basically, who like to eat junk food, and they always make fun of her because her name is Clementine and she eats healthy food. And she kind of has an epiphany. She goes, I can rap my speech. That's my talent. I love hip hop. And so she kind of morphs into emcee Veggie Fresh as like her alter ego. And she goes on, takes on the election, and she ends up winning.
Awesome. Good for her. I love this. It's, you know, it sounds like a really simple, fun story, but there's a lot of layers in here. There's a lot of great messages for kids and a lot of great material for families to kind of talk about.
Yeah, definitely. So clearly, I'm a registered dietitian, so the message of eating healthy and healthy eating is written all over the book. You can see it in the cover. It's in the name. But I didn't want to just have a story that was just like, hey, eat this. It's high in vitamin C. Because that's not how kids retain information. I wanted it to be really fun and interactive and through a character that they can relate to. And I think the story goes over anti-bullying. It talks about how these kids are kind of making fun of her. And so she decides to show them that she can do it in her own unique way. It also talks about being a leader. You don't always have to do it the way that everybody else is doing it. Perhaps everybody's writing a speech, but she did it through music because that's where her passion was. And so I think Clementine really had to grow into her own skin and stand up for herself, not just for Edgar and the junk food friends.
You know, it's funny. My mind works in weird ways, and certain things kind of like spark these memories and everything. And as you're talking about Clementine making the decision to rap her speech, it reminds me of when my son was in middle school, and it was a really difficult time for him. And in 7th grade, he moved to a new school, and he was again having some trouble fitting in. And he had this project, and it just wasn't interesting him at all. And he came up to me one night. He said, "Do you think instead of a paper, I can just create a rap song?" And
really?
I'm thinking, dude, I don't think anything could, I would say go for it, and he did, and he went for it. And he blew the teachers away. He did this rap about the Northwest Passage.
Wow.
And I still remember it. He had this, there was this one line, he goes, Northwest Passage. And it was just, he was so into it, and it really, it went over great, but it also, like Clementine, it was a defining moment for him, because it was like, hey, I had this idea. I wanted to make this mine. I did it, and I was successful.
Exactly. I think that, especially now at social media, I think a lot of kids want to follow along what everybody else is doing, and it can be very scary. Even as adults, it can be very scary to go against the grain, right? So, like your son and like Clementine, they really took a leap of faith. Mm-hmm. And, I think it's just to show that it's worth it sometimes. It's worth it every time to believe in yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think this book, above anything, it talks about believing yourself. Even when there's something in you saying, oh no, this is scary, you still got to put the faith in. She showed up. Yeah.
And boy, that is such an important message, I think. We've been talking a lot to authors lately just about, the fact that our kids have to learn to take chances and to understand that it's okay if they fail, if they they shoot and they miss, that's still okay. They still were out there, they were in the game, they tried, and maybe the next shot or the shot after that is going to go in the net.
I can relate to that so much. I'm an athlete at heart, and so I think I've learned throughout my life that failure is a part of the process. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the biggest lessons. I think that sometimes we try to protect our kids from learning that lesson. But if they learn that lesson and know how to be smart losers, so to speak, they know what it is to lose, but they learn the lesson along with it, they're even better at winning in the long run, because they're learning the lessons and they're growing into, really great people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, it must have taken a certain leap of faith for you as a registered dietitian to suddenly decide I think I'm going to write a children's book.
Yes, it was. Definitely one of the most terrifying things I've ever done, even though I have done some extreme things. And this is my profession, so it's not like I haven't written nutrition curriculum before. I've done this work, but to do it on my own and to really put so much of myself into a product. I worked hand in hand with an illustrator. Every single picture is inspired by something that I wanted to see. And to be self-published also. It's not having anybody backing you up. The day it was released, I remember the knots in my stomach. Is anybody going to like this book? But honestly, it was just an accomplishment just to publish it. And the fact that people actually like it, that's a win. And I've gotten so much feedback about kids talking about how they want to be healthy heroes and how they want to be like Clementine and eat healthy food. And kids rapping the rap. And, it's pretty cool to be a part of that journey.
Yeah. Well, tell us about some of that feedback that you've heard from kids so far.
So some of the best feedback, especially for folks that I know, the feedback that's been close to me has been how excited some of my friends' children have been about the fact that their parent knows an author. And they're like, I want to write a book too. Mm-hmm. I think that's amazing. The fact that they see that they can do that. Some of the feedback that I've gotten on Amazon and also on Instagram is that, one, particularly the feedback in Harlem has been, hey, that girl looks like me, and you just talked about a neighborhood that I live in. Mm-hmm. So they can relate to that. Mm-hmm. I've also got really cool feedback from folks about how, oh man, this is a hip hop song that's about healthy foods. It's about something really positive. And sometimes hip hop is not always seen that way, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But to me, hip hop is all about storytelling, and this is just a story about healthy foods. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, this idea of healthy eating, of course, who can argue with that? But I don't think parents, and I don't think people in general, understand just how much of an issue nutrition is, or I should say a lack of nutrition, or, the amount of kids that aren't getting the right kind of nutrition. And that's a really huge problem right now. Shanon will be back in just a moment to continue our discussion about nutrition and about access to healthy food. But before she does, I want to take a minute just to encourage you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Reading Matters button. That's the link for my brand new live school assembly program that encourages kids to read aloud 20 minutes a day, hopefully with you, and if not with you, with somebody else, and also to read vividly, to visualize what it is they're reading. Numerous studies have shown that these strategies help kids improve emotional intelligence, increase empathy, sharpen focus, increase in vocabulary, and improve comprehension. And all that's going to help them do wonderfully. And when it comes to taking those standardized tests, it's also going to help them develop a love of learning and a love of reading. It really is a fun show, and we'd love to bring it to your community. Reading Matters. You can learn more about it at readingwithyourkids.com. Right kind of nutrition. And that's a really huge problem right now.
It is huge. Access to healthy food access to healthy food can be an issue when it comes to financial issues, but also can be an issue just when it comes to culture. And it's just not something that your parents believe is something that you should be eating. The more you are exposed to healthy foods and to food in general as a child and part of the shopping process, or part of the cooking process, the more likely you are to have a healthy relationship with food when you get older. Mm-hmm. Parents have a lot on their plate. And I think sometimes they don't realize that everything that you do and say about food in front of your children is likely the way they will feel and react to food as they become adults. So that's why in the book it includes recipes at the end of it. It also includes information on why you should cook with your children and some easy ways to do it. Because the more they are involved, the more likely they are to eat it. So many times parents talk about how kids don't want to try foods. Oh, I gave him this and he doesn't want to eat it. But if he was a part of that cooking process, even it's as simple as having him with a little plastic knife, helping to cut the lettuce for a salad, they are more likely, it's there. I've done it for years. It is there that they will likely try that food because they were a part of the process.
That's something that's huge. And in my former podcast, we used to talk a lot about that and just how important it is involving the kids in the cooking process. And I remember talking to different guests about, it's a wonderful way to start talking about why we're using this. So what would you like to use? We could use this ingredient. We can use this ingredient. And what are the results? Why should we use it? Why shouldn't we use it? And can you talk a little bit about, just expand a little bit more on the benefits of having our kids help us prepare food beyond just the fact that they're more likely to eat it, and the kind of conversations we can have around making healthy choices?
Sure. So there's so much that can come from it, right? So one, I think the big one is choice. I think a lot of times we don't harp on the lesson of teaching our children how to make good choices. Mm-hmm. And I think that follows you as an adult. So working with kids on their food and exposing them to it, they are allowed to make choices for themselves. And that's a very empowering lesson. On top of that, they're also going to learn a few things, right? So following a recipe is a math lesson. It's a science lesson. It's going to go into all these type of conversations that you can have at your kitchen table that perhaps you weren't having at all. Mm-hmm. So you're now talking about school subjects that are very fun and exciting because you're measuring at your table. And you are doing a science experiment by baking something in the oven. On top of that, you're talking about how food helps your body function, right? It's going to help you do better at school. It's fueling your brain. It's going to help you when you're feeling really tired, giving you energy. So the conversation can really go in so many different directions. Just by making a simple meal together. Mm-hmm.
I love that. And I am so happy that you're on here because this has been something that I felt very, very passionately about. When I started my educational magic career, or my career as an educational magician, a lot of schools wanted me to come in and do a say no to drugs show. And that's all they wanted me to do is go up, do a magic trick and tell the kids, say no to drugs. And I'm like, okay, I can do that, but we're really kind of missing the point here. There's so much more we need to talk to kids about.
Definitely. I think that some of those conversations are hard, and especially when it comes to food. If you're a parent that doesn't necessarily eat healthy food, it can be very difficult to talk to your child about eating healthy food. And so one of the things I used to joke to my educators who were teaching children about eating healthy food is that you become the biggest hype man. You may not like tomatoes, but your job is to hype up that tomato like it is the best thing you've ever seen in your life. And sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. And you're putting on this show so that your kids aren't afraid of food. There are so many times I've met kids and I've asked, have you tried this before? No, I don't like that. We don't eat that at my house. Well, what can I do? Let's try it together. These little things, you'll be surprised the bonding that clearly bonding and food kind of go together. We do everything around food. So if you can do it in a healthy way, that's just adding an extra perk.
Yeah. And I think, if we can